T-minus 10 minutes. T-minus 9 minutes. T-minus 8 minutes. minus 7 minutes. T minus 6 minutes. T minus 5 minutes. T minus for minutes. Stand by.
How about that?
Yeah, buddy, we're ready to go on a Thursday. It's Thursday, right? It's the RP show coming your way on the Game Plus television network across Canada and 32 U.S. states. We're streaming. Hello to the streamers, the YouTubers, podcast platforms, of course, and also 1700 Mission AM down in the U.S. South, the latest to join the RP Army. Welcome, everybody. It's your boy RP here at the Golden Ticket Sports Center. We got Scruffy with us. Mitchell Scruffy Blair, the Hall of Fame broadcaster. He may have forgotten that he went into the Saskatchewan Rural Sports Hall of Fame. Do you remember that, Scruffy? Do you remember going in? Because I do.
I do. I think we both went in the same year, didn't we?
I think we did. It's a long time ago. So we got two Hall of Fame broadcasters here today, and we're ready to rock and roll. Mitch, we're going to jump right into it, okay? Mitch is here for hour one, and in hour two, Jim Clubber Lang, Canada's foremost NFL expert, although Mitch would take a run at that. But we get rolling with a quick 6 show topics. And Mitch, in a second, I'll tell you why. But we're going to open with the Canadian Football League tonight. And, hey, U.S. football fans, I know there's 2 preseason games tonight in the NFL. But it's Thursday Night Football. Week 12 kicks off in the CFL. And, Mitch, James Morgan gets thrown into the fire tonight, making his first CFL start as the Montreal Alouettes entertain the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The 28-year-old American becomes the 4th quarterback to suit up for the injury-riddled Alouettes this season. Montreal trying to snap a 3-game slide while the Bombers roll in there, coming off a 30-27 home win over Ottawa last week. Are you juiced for this game tonight? I feel like you are.
No, not really. I'm actually not going to see it because I've got some things. But Montreal's on their 4th straight back, and Winnipeg's still too good of a football team, despite the fact they have struggled this year. I think Winnipeg wins this game going away. I just don't, I don't know who James Morgan is. But then again, I didn't know who Davis Alexander was going into this time last year when he was getting ready to start. So, yeah, we could have a surprise, but I think Winnipeg wins this game. They're favored by 7, and I think they handle that spread.
Well, as I channel my inner John Frenzy, let's call him Captain Morgan. And Mitch, let's hope for the best. And I shouldn't have automatically assumed that you would be watching the football game tonight. But here's why I'm leading with the Canadian Football League, despite a couple of NFL games that are going on, and the Blue Jays are leading the American League East. I was on the radio yesterday in Niagara Falls, Ontario, that region, 610 CKTB. And I was on the air with John Gonzo Mark. Do you know that name? Because he said he worked in Sask for Rolco back in the late 80s. Do you know that name, John Gonzo Mark?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, he's
he
been
would
a
have
long
been,
time.
Yeah, in the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't work for them in the 80s. Like, I worked for them, 2000s? So,
I know.
yeah,
but what I'm saying is, he asked me to come on CKTB yesterday because he goes, Rod, I watch your show on Game Plus Television down here in Southern Ontario because you're the only one talking CFL, especially that time of the day. And we had a great, fantastic discussion. I read the game notes every week, and I'm throwing the game notes and the stats at him, and I'm like, I'm glad that I'm not reading these just for myself. And he talked about growing up and going to the Argos games with his dad. He's a huge CFL fan. Then I said, listen, where you live there in Niagara Falls, what's the split for football fans? Ticats, Argos, Bills. And he goes, right here in Niagara, probably 75% Bills fans, 25% Argos fans. And he didn't even mention the Ticats. But I think what I'm saying to you is, because we're out here in Western Canada, and before long I'll be back in Florida, but the CFL remains very, very big out here. You know that, right? You see that?
The CFL in Western Canada, it has not as popular now as it used to be. I think we can agree on that. I think there are still some problems in Saskatchewan when it comes to fan support, although we game rolled out now. Obviously, that's when your team is. Winnipeg has the best fan base in the CFL. We see that with the sellouts they have. that's going on what now? 11, probably 12 at the Banjo Bowl. Calgary's winning, so we're starting to see crowds come out there. BC's good. Edmonton, but we've still got a problem out east. But in Western Canada, the CFL, I think, is still front and center for a lot of people.
For sure. And the game of the week, which we'll spend more time on a little later with Mitch and way more time on a Football Friday, because Jayla, I got your text message. Jayla wrote in from Calgary. She stopped me in the Chinook Center Mall a couple of years ago. Same thing. She's like, Rod, I love your show because of the CFL content. And that is why we're opening the show with it. But here's the funny thing. Kirk from Toronto, huge Argos fan, wrote in yesterday because I was referring to the Yankees and the Riders and the Habs and the Leafs and their neurotic fan base. You can throw the Cowboys in there. They just haven't been around as long. And this guy, Kirk, goes, the Argos are 152 years old, Rod. And I'm like, okay, fine, but where'd the fans go? And this guy, John Mark, yesterday on CKTV goes, how did this happen? I'm like, I don't know. I don't live there. Do you want to take a swing at it, Mitch?
It's easy as to why this happened. The NFL came into Canada, and you can't compete with the NFL. That's the reason why. And Toronto thinks that it's an NFL city, and it's not.
Okay. Open and shut then. Okay. Well, it's like Walmart moving in, just crushing the mom and pop stores. That's what it is. The NFL is the Walmart of football and sports. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and the CFL turns into a Spirit of Halloween.
It's just there for the season and then gone. Oh, Mitch, you're coming with the fire today. By the way, we'll be taking a break here in about 90 seconds. Let's get your comments in, everybody. 902-518-3033. The Western Dodge text line is open because CFL fans come here for the talk. And the thing is, you and I love it, so I don't mind it. But it's not the only thing that I'm going to talk about. And we're going to get to some NFL next, and I got some hockey stuff too. The text line is brought to you by Western Dodge. Experience the Western Dodge difference. Local, reliable, and driven to find the perfect vehicle for you. Somebody said to me again yesterday, Rod, how come your show is growing so much in the States when you talk so much CFL? I don't know. But what I know, Mitch, is they like you and me. They like us in the States. And that's it's nice to be liked. I can only thank God for it. That's all. There's no explanation as to why the show is mushrooming in the USA, despite the Canadian topics, other than the fact that it's fresh, it's refreshing, it's new, and it's a little different. But I do want to get your college football take too, Mitch. So in the break, which is coming up shortly, think about that in Michigan, because I'm seeing some stuff about they're in trouble again. You need to sort that out for me in Harbaugh.
Stop.
We'll be back in a moment, everybody. We're live on Game Plus Television, streaming live, of course, found on all major podcast platforms and 1700 AM Mission Radio.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Nazareth's Canadian Farewell Tour is coming to Moose Jaw. Live at Temple Garden Center, October 17th. With special guest, Lee Aaron. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or sasktix.ca.
We're back live, everybody, and live from the Golden Ticket Sports Center. By the way, experience authentic Greek flavors right here in Moose Jaw at the Mad Greek Eatery, open until 11 p.m. daily, or order online. Also pick up or dine in at the madgreekeatery.com. Scruffy's with me, and before I jump into the NFL, on the topic of food, I don't know, Mitch, if you saw the poll question today for EMJ Marketing. From our friends, frankly, at Schneider's, they sold a record in hot dogs at Rogers Center back on July 22nd. They're going to up that record this upcoming Tuesday. And I guess there's a challenge at Rogers Center, the 9x9x9 challenge. Have you heard of it, Mitchell Blair?
No, I have not.
It's, could you, and that's the poll question, would you try this? 9 hot dogs, 9 beers in 9 innings. Right off the bat, it's a no from me, dog, because I don't drink. If you, I could do 9 Diet Pepsis. It would be a yes from me if it was that. I would try it. But would you?
Scruffy from about 20, 25 years ago would say yes. Scruffy now, not a hope.
I don't think it's a good idea.
I have a tough enough time getting 1 or 2 hot dogs down to the Pats game on Wiener Wednesday. 9? No.
That's a good point. But it's all night. The most I ever did was 6. But if you stretched it out over 9 innings, which is what they're trying to do at Rogers Center, 9 innings, can you scarf down 9 hot dogs, 9 beers? Just so you know, the first polling results saying 68% of respondents saying no. But I think similarly. Yeah.
20, 25 years ago? 20, 25 years ago, probably. Now, I don't think so.
No. Okay. So to point 2 of our quick 6 show topics on this Thursday, National Football League. It is Thursday night football, 2 games tonight, Pittsburgh at Carolina and the New England Patriots at the New York Giants. Out of those games, what I saw is that the Steelers aren't playing anybody. I don't know about the other games, but we had a fun debate earlier in the week, Mitch, about should veterans be playing in NFL preseason games. You follow this as close as anybody. What's your thoughts on the NFL preseason and the vets that are being played versus those that are being kept out?
I find it interesting that in week 1 of the season, when you have teams that don't really play their number 1 guys until the first snap of the season, that team struggles. And one of those teams the last couple of years has been the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow hasn't played. Jamar Chase hasn't played. Then it gets to week 1, and those reps that you need in a game time situation aren't there. And as a result, the Bengals have not played well in the first week of the season. I noticed that the other night against Washington, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were both playing. Now, Joe Burrow got sacked a few times, and that had some people going, which I understand. But I think when Cincinnati goes into Cleveland for week 1 of the season, the Bengals will be a little bit more polished than what they are or what they have been coming out of the gate. You take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have a new quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, a new receiver in DK Metcalf. I can't remember who their running back is, but they're not going to play tonight. So a team that hasn't had any reps on the field together in a game situation, going into week 1 at the New York Jets, I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers will play that well offensively because nobody's on the same page, and you need to have bullets flying at you for real. So I think some of these teams that have their regulars playing, they're going to be a lot better in week 1. Teams that have decided not to have their regulars playing, it's going to take a couple of weeks for them because week 1 is basically a modified preseason game. The only thing that differs is the fact that the wins and the losses count, whereas they don't in the preseason.
For sure. And I have not seen what the Patriots and Giants are planning on dressing tonight. But the quote I saw from Steelers coach Mike Tomlin is that he's seen enough from Aaron Rodgers, so he's not clearly concerned about that cohesion. By the way, Mark writes in from Burlington, Ontario. He says, "Hey, Rod, your show feels personal to me because I can interact with you, unlike the ESPN shows with 4 panel members spewing the same old thing over and over. Yes, and yelling over top of each other, and that's just not what we'll ever do here. It works for them, but what we do here works for us." On this NFL vein, Mitch, on this line of thinking, have you watched the series on Netflix, America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys at all?
The America's Team, like
it's the latest series on the Cowboys. The latest series on Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. You haven't heard about it?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Now that you mention it, I think I saw somebody on Twitter last night talking about it, but I thought he was talking about the America's Game, like the Super Bowl champion series.
No. This, I think it just dropped this week, and viewer Jeremy in Winnipeg said, "Rod, you got to watch this." So for the last 2 nights, I've watched 2 episodes. They're an hour each long, and there's 4 episodes to go. And to be honest, if you haven't watched it, I would encourage you to. But this is the thing. You're not a Cowboys fan. You're a Seahawks fan. I'm not sure you're even interested in watching it. But it's literally the rise and the fall of the Cowboys under Jerry Jones. And then where I'm at right now through 4 episodes is the very, very nasty split with Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones. And my God, Mitch, like anything with the Cowboys, it is drama-filled. It's sensationalized. And the one thing that I'm coming out of this is, even though I kind of knew Jerry Jones wasn't necessarily the best guy, Jimmy Jones really isn't the best. Jimmy Johnson really isn't the best guy either. But the one thing, here it is, Mike in Winnipeg, Michael Wynn from Ice Time Sports writes in, he says, "America's Team Netflix series is so good. It's unbelievable, Mitch. And the only reason I'm spending as much time on it, obviously it's my team. But they interview Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones and Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin and everybody that was key at that time. And I just wonder if they were to do a series on the Seahawks, would it even be that interesting? Is there any other team other than the Patriots? I would watch a series on the Patriots. What other team would have this kind of drama and history as the Dallas Cowboys? I'm not even sure that's a good thing, but it is what it is.
Yeah, with the exception of the Cowboys and the Patriots, with the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick thing, I can't think of any other team. You know, you can talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, and by the way, they have a very good show that's on ESPN right now. I watched a little bit of it last night, and I found some things to be interesting on it because it's a behind the scenes look at the team that lost the Super Bowl, not the team that won the Super Bowl. It was an interesting watch last night. But yeah, The Chiefs don't have the drama surrounding the Cowboys have had, that the Patriots have had. I guess maybe if there's one team, but it really pales in comparison, it might be those Buffalo Bills teams that lost 4 Super Bowls in a row.
It's actually covered in this series because the Cowboys beat them in 2 of them, right? So they've interviewed Jim Kelly and these guys. So, by the way, Carlos in Indianapolis says, is there a CFL or NHL team that could get that type of Netflix series? Probably. I mean, for sure it would be the Rough Riders, and the NHL, I don't know. But we watch those sports documentaries on the damn minor league hockey team in the UHL out of New Jersey. Or if it's good, it's good. It doesn't matter what the league is, you know.
I think a CFL story that would be great is if we looked into the Argos in the John Candy, Bruce McNall era.
Well, those series have been done, if you recall, CFL Traditions, and it was amazing. Yep. It's been done. Like, where are those? Where are those episodes? The lost episodes.
Right.
By the way, the viewers B. Mans and Ken in Mississauga say the Raiders. Yeah, those would be good. The Raiders, absolutely. Allie
the
has
old day Raiders, not the modern day Raiders.
The modern
Al
day
Davis
Raiders. There's nothing exciting about the modern day Raiders. I would not tune into this. But, okay, well, while we're here, and Allie has just checked in from Texarkana. She's in Texarkana, Texas, where it's Cowboys talk all day, every day. But just in this series, Mitch, I don't want to be a spoiler, but it's important to point out where the Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson split happened was they had just won their 2nd Super Bowl, and they were at the league meetings in Orlando. And listen up, people, because this is a key distinction here. Jerry Jones walked up to a table of his staff, and a bunch of the coaches were there with their wives. And Jerry goes, how about y'all give us a toast to winning the Super Bowl? Everybody toasted except Jimmy Johnson. He didn't even raise his hand. This is Jerry Jones's story. He fired him that night. And they admitted that they'd all been drinking. They were into the devil's juice, as Johnny Athens would say. But if you read Bobby Ackle's book, The Water Boy, and everybody knows who's watching this show who he was, the president of the BC Lions, was working for the Dallas Cowboys. He was sitting at that table. And in his book, Bobby says, Jerry Jones walked up to the table and said, how about we toast everybody who helped me win the Super Bowl? Big difference. Big difference in the phrasing there. And it's in Bobby Ackle's book. So the fact that Jerry wouldn't necessarily get the phrasing of that all right doesn't exactly surprise me. Mike in Winnipeg says you might be able to do the mid to late 80s Bomber teams with Coach Cal in terms of a series. As I continue, and we'll come back on all these things, Mitchell's coming to this. Join us at Pump Jacks Cathedral in Regina for our NFL kickoff party Thursday, September 4th. You're at least invited. I'm not sure if you're coming or not. Cowboys at Eagles.
Yeah, I think I will.
Be watching for details on how you can be a part of it. Pump Jacks Steakhouse and Saloon. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. In the time we have left in this segment, Blue Jays baseball, point 3. The Jays have the day off before opening a 3-game set in Miami Friday. Newly acquired righty Shane Bieber, a former Cy Young winner, is expected to make his Blue Jays debut. The AL East leading Jays fell 2-1 yesterday to the struggling Pittsburgh Pirates. While I was on that Niagara radio show yesterday, the host John Mark said, how's the Blue Jays going over in Western Canada? And I said, everybody's dialed in because they're winning. Mitch, you've lived out here your whole life, similar to me. Am I wrong on that? We're all into it because the Jays are winning. If they weren't, people wouldn't be.
Absolutely. You know I'm not a Blue Jays fan, but I'm in the minority. There are people that love the Blue Jays. There are people that love the Blue Jays 162 games a year, right from opening day.
Yep.
There's a lot of other people that say what you will about them. You know, oh, the Blue Jays are good. I'm their biggest fan. Yeah, okay, whatever. Name me 10 players on the team. Bichette, Vlad.
That happens everywhere, but that happens everywhere.
You're right.
Producer Corey liked that one, by the way. He's laughing in my ear. Yeah, well, while we're here, so with the Shane Bieber thing, how do you think this is going to play out? I have likened it to Brad Marchand being acquired at the trade deadline while injured for the Panthers. He sat out a month and then was in contention for the Conn Smythe. That's how I'm hoping it will go. I don't know if it will go that way.
Yeah, it's hard to say. We haven't seen Shane Bieber on a major mound for a while. He's coming back with Tommy John surgery. So how much is he going to pitch? How effective is he going to be? I don't think we're going to get a true barometer as to what Shane Bieber can be like for probably about 2 or 3 starts, because I can't see Toronto pitching him 6 innings or 100 pitches, whatever comes first. Not on his opening night.
No, at least he's had these minor league starts to get ready for this. We'll see how it goes. 902-518-3033 is the text line for Western Dodge. Hey, Allie, stick around, and you hockey fans, we'll get into hockey when we come back, plus more football talk. The PGA, Tour Championship begins today, so we'll mention that. Last segment with Scruffy coming up. Any hockey-related thoughts, Mitch? Get them out in the next segment, so think about them over the break. Again, 902-518-3033 is the Western Dodge text line, and you're watching us live on Game Plus Television, streaming live on YouTube, all podcast platforms, and now on 1700 AM Mission Radio.
Country's hottest party is coming. James Barker Band, Bud Light Buckle Up Tour 2025. Live across Canada with special guests Ryan and Rory. November 20th, Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca. James Barker Band Live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
RP Show continues. Welcome back, everybody. Mitchell Scruffy Blair with us for just one more segment. The poll question, I got to thank our business manager, Joe, who's going to be on the show tomorrow, everybody. Just be prepared for that in this segment. Joe came up with this poll question today from our friends at Schneider's. Would you do the 9x9x9 challenge they do at Blue Jays games? 9 hot dogs, 9 beers over 9 innings. Kirk in Toronto writes in, he says, I could do 9 ounces of rye for sure, but not the hot dogs and beer. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta says, I wouldn't do the 9x9x9, but I've done a beer a hole for the 18 holes. In all cases, that sounds like too much to me. And by the way, Scott in Vancouver writes in and says, regarding you saying, can you name 10 Blue Jays? He goes, I used to do that for hockey pools to see who knew their stuff. Name 5 Columbus Blue Jackets or 5 Nashville Predators. Had a guy write in here the other day. He's probably watching right now, Rich in Edmonton. Mitch, he goes, I can't name you 5 Edmonton Elks, yet I can name all 20 Edmonton Oilers. I think I would struggle to name 10 players per NHL team. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I think it comes with our age. Because when we were kids, we knew every roster. Plus, there were less teams.
Yep. I think it also goes, too, with what sports are you most passionate about? And what teams are you most passionate about? I'm an Edmonton Oiler fan. I could name you 10 Edmonton Oilers right now. I could give a you-know-what about the Columbus Blue Jackets. No offense to Blue Jackets fans. So I don't know if I could give you 10 members of the Columbus Blue Jackets. You could say that about the NFL or any team. I could tell you the starting infield for the Chicago Cubs or the starting 9 for the Chicago Cubs most days. Could I tell you the starting 9 for the Los Angeles Angels? Probably not.
Yeah, well, I can tell you in the 80s as a kid, I could tell you every player on every NHL team, but there were only 21 teams, and I could tell you all the starting infielders and outfielders for every MLB team because baseball was my second sport. But that's sitting on a farm, going through my cards, reading the magazines. That's what it was, and I'm pretty sure
those were the good old days.
Right,
those
I just
were the
think
good old days.
That don't happen anymore. Now, the fourth point ain't that exciting. Point 4, the Colorado Avalanche added depth at forward on Wednesday by signing Victor Olofsson to a 1-year deal. Huge news because there's not much else going on in the NHL. The 30-year-old Olofsson spent last season with Vegas where he had 15 goals and 14 apples over 56 games. But beyond that, I want to go back to this. You would have some strong opinions on this, Mitch. This is why we love you so much. Or maybe you won't, but how many – I don't know if Connor Bedard could name 10 Chicago Blackhawks. You know what I'm saying? And – coming out of the Western Canada Scouting Foundation Hall of Fame event I was at a couple of weeks ago, I talked with all the hockey guys there, the scouts, and they felt that Connor Bedard is getting a bad rap in Chicago. And I don't really know this story. I've talked to Connor. He airs in this the promos of this show, but I feel bad for the kid in Chicago. But you were very closely following Connor McDavid in Edmonton. Is it much different, the two?
Yes, because I don't think in Chicago, the Chicago Blackhawks are trying to build a roster around Connor Bedard. In Edmonton, it took a while, but the Oilers finally built a roster around Connor McDavid. And now we see Edmonton where they are, and we see Chicago continuing to be where they are. I think on one of my columns that I sent to your website a long time ago, I said if the Chicago Blackhawks were serious, they would have overpaid Mitch Marner to come to Chicago to play with Connor Bedard. Did the Blackhawks sign anyone of value to play with Connor Bedard this next season? No. They need some talent beside this kid. I haven't got a Blackhawks roster in front of me, but Ryan Donato, Tyler Bertuzzi, no, those guys aren't going to cut it. And instead, the Blackhawks are hoping that guys like Frank Nazar, Kevin Korchinski, and some of their other young draft picks, that they're all going to gel at the same time and maybe be what the Montreal Canadiens are like now. Well, I'm sorry. You have some talent in Montreal with guys like Hudson Demidov, but you've also got some guys like Gallagher Suzuki. And in Chicago, you've got nobody to play with Connor Bedard. You need to have that happen.
Well, Scruffy, see, here's the thing. I guess back to why is this show popular in the States? From the viewer T from the 203, who I believe is my friend Trevor Harris. Not that Trevor Harris. It's another Trevor Harris, Mitch. He's a producer at WQAM Radio in Miami. I believe that he goes T from the 203. He says, what up, Rod? The only thing that's happening in the NHL, Sergei Fedorov's number is retired, which is a huge thing in Detroit. Not that big outside Detroit as far as I'm concerned. But he says, if this is you, Trevor, and I believe it is, he goes, Connor Bedard has no idea who's Tony Amonte, Eric Daze, or Alexei Zhamnov. And he says, yes, it's Trevor. I'm not saying past Blackhawks. I'm saying current Blackhawks. Bedard can't name 10. Have you watched that team? No. I get where Trevor's coming from. I didn't think this was going to pick up as much. How do you say this guy's name? Scott in Vancouver says Frank Nazar has potential to be a good player. And yes, he does. Is it Nazar or Nazar?
I think it's Nazar.
Okay, well, I watched
the Nazar. I don't know.
Well, back to we can't name all the players. And I don't know if it's too many teams or what the hell it is. I don't know. But how long do you think Bedard, do you think he stays? Because the rumor mill is he's not going to sign a long-term deal. He'll be out of Chicago within a few years.
I don't know. You know, everybody talks about Connor McDavid signing a short deal in Edmonton, and I think he's going to sign for as long as what Leon Draisaitl is there, and Leon just signed for the max here a couple of, last year. I don't know. I think the agent for Connor Bedard has to have a long sit-down with Kyle Davidson, the GM of the Blackhawks, who really, I'm surprised, is still there.
So am I.
They need to figure this. They need to figure this out in Chicago because Bedard is going to waste. Now, do I think that Connor Bedard has to take some blame in this too? Yeah, I do. You know, when he decided to basically shut it down and not go and play for Canada at the Worlds, I think that really sent the wrong message, especially when it's an Olympic year. And yes, he got invited to the orientation camp, but right now, I'm probably taking Macklin Celebrini over Connor Bedard if I have a choice between those two because Bedard's attitude, and maybe part of it is because of what he's been through in Chicago, I don't know if it's there. I think he needs a little bit of a reset.
Well, you know me a long time.
And you know I love the kid.
As do I.
You know I love the kid. Like, that's not a criticism.
Yeah. Well, my point when I said you've known me a long time, you know how I am. There ain't nothing Connor Bedard could do that would make me think ill of him. So, at all. You know, my wife said, you fall in love with the players. You like them too much. So what? Oh, Mitch, we're running out of time. I could go on for hours with you. That's always been the way. But the thing with Connor, at some point, he didn't want to get traded out of Regina. They say that's why he didn't. He didn't want to go to the Worlds. I think, for me, it's fine. Whatever Connor wants, Connor gets. But in neither case are they good PR moves.
Not being traded by the Pats when he asked John Paddock not to do that when they got him. I think that showed you he was in with that team through the good and the bad. And it wasn't going to be, okay, we're not doing what we're supposed to do. I'm getting jettisoned out of here because I want to play for a winner. I actually commended him for doing that. I know it probably set the Pats back a few years, but I don't blame him for that. I do blame him, though, for not wanting to go try out for Canada or go play for Canada at the Worlds. I think he made a mistake there.
Fair. This has spawned dozens of comments that will carry us through the next few segments until Jim Lang joins us, Canada's foremost NFL expert. Mitch, I feel like your connection today was very good. Thank you. I think the television experts will say it could be better, and I guess we're going to work on that, but I thought it was awesome. Thanks, my friend. Appreciate you. And see you at our NFL kickoff party.
I will probably be there, and we'll talk to you later.
Mitchell Scruffy Blair co-hosting with me today. Sports Update coming up right after this.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. The RP Show continues on this Thursday, live on Game Plus Television, streaming on YouTube, also found on all podcast platforms, and now on the radio, AM 1700 Mission Radio in Auburn, Alabama. And here's the thing. If we want to have some fun like we used to do way back in the day when most of you weren't even watching, like 1,000 episodes ago, we used to say we're the crack, cocaine, heroin, black tar heroin of sports talk. We give you just a little, and then you get hooked. We covered all these topics so far today. Tonight's Thursday night football game, CFL, Winnipeg at Montreal. Scruffy's not into it, but I will be. 2 NFL games tonight, Pittsburgh at Carolina and New England at the Giants, which reminds me, Chris from the Bronx, he is the perfect guy to talk about why this show's popular in America. Chris, who I talk to regularly, love him. He says to me, we're neighbors in Deerfield Beach, Florida. He says, well, he's from Deerfield. I'm from Boca, but it's close. He says, I don't know what the hell you're talking about on there, but it's so damn entertaining. You're like Rush Limbaugh. I'll take that. Thank you, Chris. I would think in Auburn, Alabama, they don't know what a Connor Bedard is. But maybe. I don't know. I shouldn't speak for them. 2 NFL games tonight, as I mentioned. Point 3, Major League Baseball. The Blue Jays off. They are at the Marlins. Scruffy doesn't think they're going to the World Series, but he's a hater. Point 4 was the NHL talk, which started out with the Avalanche signing Victor Olofsson. Not that big of a deal except for the Olofsson family and the Avs. Spawned into this Connor Bedard talk. But, you just never really know. I was brought on the radio in Amarillo, Texas, 8:06 a.m. That's Kenny Nagun's station. And they start asking me about McDavid and if he's going to be there long term and where was Mitch Marner going to sign. I'm like, why do you guys care? But they do in Amarillo, Texas. So you just never know. And, back to Chris from the Bronx. I guess I will divulge, a little bit of info here. Like, we were talking up Bedard, and I've known Chris pretty much for as long as I've been going to Florida. And when Bedard was on his way up, he was like, Connor Bedard, huh? Connor Bedard, he's the next one. Yeah, he is. And then he goes number 1 overall, leads the Blackhawks in scoring, and he's all that. And Chris goes, you must feel pretty proud, huh? You called that one. I'm like, we all just knew. That was not not hard. But that's why I a lot stay out of football personnel, whether it be CFL or NFL. I can't tell you who's the next one. I can't watch a guy for 5 minutes running through those workouts that the players have and tell you whether he can play or not. Not a football player, but I can with a hockey player. But that's why I have my football guys. And that's why when Dustin Crum was coming up with the Ottawa Red Blacks and he was winning games, and I'm, building him up like the next Joe Montana, I got football guys blowing up my phone. No. He's not the next one. They were right. But they said this Drew Brown guy is. And Friday night, it doesn't sound like he's playing, right, for you Ottawa CFL fans? Mitch and I did this radio show in Regina for years, the Sports Cage, and it was so unbelievably popular because of the conversations that we just had, which it was just 2 friends, but 2 broadcasters. Somewhere along the line, somebody asked, it was my sponsor, Bob, this morning. He goes, where did broadcasting change to where they'll just throw anybody on the air? I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know. But, I'm old enough to have been around for the birth of sports talk, and all these program directors back in the day said, we want it to sound like a couple of guys sitting there talking sports. Now, that sounds like a hell of an idea, but let's make sure they're broadcasters. Somewhere along the line, let's just throw a couple of guys on the air talking sports. Yeah, that doesn't work. It helps if they're broadcasters. And so my point that I wanted to get to with Scruffy, but I never did, was in this Netflix doc, and I'm shocked that he doesn't even know about it, America's Team, the Gambler and his Cowboys. But Mitch isn't a Cowboys fan, so it doesn't really surprise me, but they talked about the Cowboys 49ers wars of the 80s, which the 49ers always won, and Joe Montana was the quarterback. And I just thought about Joe Montana. I wasn't following the NFL in the 80s. You all know that. I was following the NHL, Major League Baseball, and junior hockey. Those were my things. It's not like I didn't know who Joe Montana was. And so at Super Bowl in Las Vegas, the most recent one that I was at broadcasting this show from, and I want to call my friend Dean from Vegas because we went together with his lovely wife. We went to the Fan Fest. And it kind of, I try to be a positive guy. You know that. So many people poo-poo the NFL and especially Super Bowl. They're like, oh, don't go. It's just a trade show. It's so boring. No, it's not. There's a huge conference center at Mandalay Bay, which was like the NFL's headquarters at Super Bowl. The whole strip obviously was Super Bowl, but the NFL stuff was at Mandalay Bay. And whether that be, that's where all the media was, the news conferences, Radio Row where I was, or the Fan Fest, if I'm saying that right. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands and thousands of people lined up, herded like cattle, going through the maze to get in, which we went through the maze, and we had so much fun. But then word got around, Joe Montana. Joe Montana's come, 3 o'clock, Joe Montana. Whoa. Well, now the 49ers were in that Super Bowl, so you can imagine how many of their fans were there. But it was 49ers fans, like a sea of them, to see Joe Montana. I'm not sure people would line up to see Gretzky. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't. And I'm the hockey guy and the Gretzky fan. Montana, I think, walks on water. Certainly with 49ers fans, he does. And I will say this, certain Grey Cups that I was at, because I've been to 21 or 22, the only time that I think, and you CFL fans can tell me whether you agree with this or not, but Edmonton 2010 was the absolute peak of Rider pride, the absolute crescendo of it. As far as I'm concerned, I'd like to think I know. We were in Edmonton for that Grey Cup. We had just lost the 2009 Grey Cup in Calgary the year before. We were coming back for vengeance against the same team, and there were miles and miles and miles of green jerseys and Rider fans. I'm telling you, thousands of everywhere, downtown. We went out to West Edmonton Mall just to get away from Rider fans, and that place was overcome with Rider fans. I remember talking to my mom. I'm like, Mom, I think every Rider fan in the world is here at Edmonton. She's like, no, they're all here in southern Saskatchewan. I'm like, oh, my God. It'd be nice if we got back to that one day. You'd have to get back to the Grey Cup first. Talking about Netflix series, and the viewers are saying, could we do some CFL ones? Vintage Sasko writes in on the Western Dodge text line, and he says, Rodfather and Bishop Blair, I enjoyed the reality series on the Argos way back in the day. Forget the name of it, only 4 episodes, but Jim, The Price is Right, Barker was featured on it. Solid. 4 stars out of 5. I remember it, too, because, I've known Jim Barker a long time, and I remember talking to Matt Sakaris from TSN at the time. He's in Vancouver now hosting Sakaris and Price, but for whatever reason, we were talking about it, and he goes, what did you think of that Argos documentary? And I said, well, I liked it, but it just felt like Jim Barker was acting in it. Like he was acting. And Matt goes, well, of course he was acting. That's Jim Barker playing to the camera, i.e., which he does here every Friday. Trevor staying with us. I appreciate you, Trevor. My guy, Trevor Harris. Not that Trevor Harris, another Trevor Harris, a producer at WQAM in Miami. He says, Wayne Gretzky with hockey fans, yes, some casual fans. See, this is where hockey misses out, and it's not hockey's fault. We don't have in hockey an event like Super Bowl. We just don't, whereby you could have a facility that holds 10,000 people, the trade shows, if you will, Fan Fest. Yeah, the All-Star Game, we had something similar in South Florida, but it's not the same. It's just not the same. And I just wonder where you would put Gretzky at a table that you would have people line up and get autographs and photos by the 1,000. Where would you even do that? Allie in Texarkana says, I would line up for days to meet Wayne. Let me do a sports update for Cool Bet Canada for a second. For our U.S. friends, here's what's going on up here, where it's far cooler than where you are. For Cool Bet Canada, James Morgan is set. Can we call it now James Captain Morgan? Is set to get his first CFL start tonight when his Montreal Alouettes host the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The 28-year-old American will be the 4th quarterback to play for the injury-plagued Alouettes this season. I believe it's 7:30 on TSN. The Pittsburgh Steelers are playing it safe as they prepare to visit the Carolina Panthers tonight. Coach Mike Tomlin is opting to hold several veterans out of the preseason contest, including 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers. Tomlin says he's seen enough progress out of the 41-year-old quarterback that he doesn't need to watch him in a preseason game. Now, the Patriots are at the New York Giants tonight. I've shouted out my guy, Chris from the Bronx. He is the biggest Giants fan that I know. He actually thinks they're going to be good this year. I do not. But hey, everybody's in first place now, right? Kenny Nagunst was on here the other day from 806 Sports Texas saying that people are saying the Cowboys should tank to get Arch Manning. I'm like, you can't tank enough. You can't. The Giants are picked to win 2 games, and they're in the Cowboys division. You're not going to be worse than the Giants. So try to win. And by the way, you got Dak as it is. He's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, so let's just hope that it works. A quiet day for the Toronto Blue Jays. The team is off after dropping a 2-1 decision to the Pittsburgh Pirates Thursday. There are 9 games on the MLB schedule. How long we got, Cor? Oh! Well,
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show's Hour 2. Duh, as we say in Canada. Francais. It's just me for this opening segment. Coming up in the second segment, Jim Clubber Lang will join us from Jim Lang Sports and Canada's foremost expert on the National Football League. I was going to say, where's Johnny Ohm today? In Winnipeg, but I'll save you the time. It's Thursday. He's golfing, as the regular viewers say. It's episode number 1560 of Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show, but we got a lot of U.S. viewers, as we've seen, tuned in on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe. We don't ask for much here on the RP show. And also podcasting, and now on the radio, again, 1700 AM Mission Radio in Alabama, where they just seem to like what we talk about every day here on the RP show. Let me just quickly re-up what we've been talking about today for those that showed up late. We started with the Canadian Football League because a lot of CFL fans come here because, as I was told on the radio yesterday in Niagara, 610 CKTB, they asked me to come on in Niagara Falls, Ontario, to talk about the CFL. And they said, we love your show because nobody talks about the CFL this time of day other than you. And I still wonder if I'm doing something wrong, that I'm the only guy. But as I watched Jerry Jones in his documentary, which we'll get to, Jerry says, the best times that I've had the most success was me going the other way. And that's us. So tonight it's Winnipeg at Montreal. James Captain Morgan starting at quarterback for Montreal. That's all you need to know. Friday night, it's the Edmonton Elcamos at the Ottawa Red Blacks. Yeah, clearly, I love saying that. I'll be watching them all. And then a Saturday doubleheader, the Brayley Bowl, BC at Toronto. If you know, you know. If you don't know, we don't have time. And Canada's game of the week, and ain't even close. We have this on our Instagram story as a poll question. What is the game of the week? 89% saying Sask at Calgary Saturday, 5 p.m. Mountain kickoff is the game of the week, and it is. I have to accept the fact that people are going to ask for as long as I'm alive if I'm going to go to the Rider game. How about no? I don't get it. For the 20 years that I was the voice of the Rough Riders, I don't think anybody was asking my predecessor, John Frenzy, are you going to the Rider game, Frenzy? He sure as hell didn't go on the road and very rarely went at home. But I will be watching, and I think it's going to be a great game, and we're going to spend far more time on it tomorrow. Point two, pair of NFL games tonight, Pittsburgh at Carolina, the Patriots at the Giants. Jim Lang joining us next to pretty much talk all NFL. Point three, Major League Baseball. I want to get in a little bit of this with Jim. The Blue Jays are off today. They're at the Marlins this weekend. Point four, hockey talk, which we'll come back to. Victor Olofsson leaving Vegas for Colorado on a one-year deal. Point five, PGA, which we never talk about. And then six, the always popular randoms. I will say this. I'm sitting here doing this show not under duress, but in the sake of fashion. It is hotter than campfire chili here. Now, not as hot as Alabama, not as hot as South Florida, where we have some, or Texas, where we have people tuned in from today. But it's hot enough that you wouldn't, like, this is minus 40 grade bunny hug that I'm wearing, hoodie from the Rod Pedersen show. Joe, our business manager, who's going to be co-hosting with me tomorrow. The viewers have asked for him, so we're going to bring him on. He knows his way around a football field and hosts the Ratio podcast. Joe's going to be on here. He ordered all these clothes. Hoodies, T-shirts, hats, mugs, which this keeps your drink refreshingly cold. He says, now all we need is to have people buy the stuff. As he said this last night. Go to rodpeterson.com, click on store, and you can order it. I'm like, Joe, it's been available for 3 days. He's been working on it for a real long time, so help him out. Go to rodpeterson.com, click on store, and just peruse. I'm sure there'll be something there that you like. This is interesting. Bomber Boy writes in from Calgary and says the American viewers will like to hear that 3 Winnipeg Jets have been invited to the Olympic tryouts. Connor Hellebuck, Kyle Connor, and Neil Pionk. For the Jets fans, was Pionk on the Four Nations face-off team for the USA? Obviously, we knew Hellebuck and Connor were. Now I can delve into what you all were talking about from the viewer comments. How this was spawned of Wayne Gretzky signing autographs. I was talking about the Netflix series on the Dallas Cowboys, and they went through very well, but it's just an unbelievably well-done series. It's on Netflix, so you know it's going to be. But the 49ers and Cowboys wars, they hated each other over the years in the NFC. And I had mentioned being at Super Bowl in Las Vegas, being at the Fan Fest, and just the thousands upon thousands of fans that lined up to meet Joe Montana. And they were all 49ers fans, okay? Not just NFL. It was almost like you had to be a 49ers fan to get in line, or they wouldn't allow you in. And there was still thousands of them to meet Joe. Like, it was, you know me. I'm going to try and weasel my way up to the front of the line just to snap a pic and get the hell out. Not with him, but just take a pic. I couldn't get anywhere even near it. Not even, there ain't nothing that I've ever witnessed in Canada like that. Nowhere. That's the thing about the USA that you don't understand. Numbers. When I was broadcasting the USA Football Flag Championships, for a test of the line, 8,000 people tuned in, producer Corey. For a test of the line, 8,000 people tuned in. And for the final, USA versus Mexico, there was 28,000 people watching streaming alone, let alone going on, we were on the Olympic Network as well. I was calling it, and Moose was doing color. Just numbers. Unbelievable. And I said, I don't know that Gretzky would have drawn the crowd that Joe Montana did. So, Air Corps writes in from BC and says, I'm not sure Gretzky signs autographs. Card collector shows give hockey fans the opportunity to line up. Whatever it is, they do. I mean, I'm used to be into that. I'm not into that anymore. Okay. Thank you, Mike in Winnipeg. Mike from Ice Time Sports. He runs that sporting goods store at Ice Time Sports. He's watching us on Game Plus TV and clearly YouTube as well. He says, no, he wasn't. Pionk was not on Team USA for the Four Nations face-off. So that's a pretty big deal that he's been invited. 902-518-3033, Western Dodge text line. Whether it's pizza, ribs, or authentic Greek favorites, make it the Mad Greek Eatery tonight, open until 11 p.m. Order online, pick up, or dine in. Visit their website at themadgreekeatery.com. Yeah, it don't take much here in Canada. This is why, I've just figured it out. I think this is why the U.S. viewers have tuned in. The CFL talk in some ways, but the hockey talk. Ron in Calgary writes in on the Western Dodge text line, and he says, morning, Rod. We all know one player's not going to win you a championship. I feel really bad for Bedard. He's not staying in Chicago. See, we could sit here and rack up a phone bill, as my friend Clint Malarchuk often says, on this Bedard thing. There's a lot of players on crappy teams in sports. Who the heck was it in here earlier that said, ask Megatron about being on bad teams? Calvin Johnson, Detroit Lions. I know what you're talking about. Late Night Smitty checks in from Steinbach, Manitoba, and says, NFL is 14 days away. Stay tuned for the next segment. We'll be doing all NFL with Jim Lang. I'm roaming into squirrel territory here right now, and I apologize for that. But Scott writes in and says, Catriona LeMaidon looked great. I don't know what the hell he's talking about or what he saw, but it's funny you're saying that because I talked to the Moose this morning, Darren Moose DuPont. Moose not here. He is at the Canada Summer Games, the Jeux Canada Games in St. John's, Newfoundland, and he happened to be with Catriona LeMaidon. A lot of you don't know who that is. I'm going to catch you up because you need to know. 3-time medalist, I think it's 2 silver, 1 gold speed skater for Canada from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan at the Olympics, and she is the chef de mission for Team Saskatchewan at the Canada Summer Games. And she is beautiful inside and out. As a matter of fact, the promo that we run, you see she's the one banging the drum. So anyways, why am I bringing this all up? Moose says, oh, Catriona says hi. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, oh, she said that she saw me on the RP show the other day. Saw Darren on. And Darren's there doing communications and PR for Team Saskatchewan. And Catriona is their chef de mission. So, boom. How about that? Bomber Boy, thank you for, it was Bomber Boy who wrote in. He goes, I wrote that in. He goes, Megatron would have played 2 to 3 more seasons if it weren't for that 0-win season in Detroit. And you're right, and that's also why Barry Sanders walked away. And that's why in Detroit they really, really appreciate what's going on with the Lions now. So this is where I started this by saying there's a lot of bad teams with really good players, whether it's the Blackhawks and Bedard or the Detroit Lions and Megatron. And it sucks. I just can't move away from this thing with the Oilers and McDavid. He never asked out. And I was following it somewhat closely. Okay, yeah, the Oilers every year were slowly getting better to where they are now. You could see the effort to get better. And they had all the number 1 picks. Some worked out, some didn't. But in Chicago, everybody says they're not doing enough for Connor Bedard. And it gets dangerous because I'll go back to my CFL history here. My first year in 1999, the voice of the CFL Saskatchewan Roughriders, we were bad. We were 3-15 bad. And I see. It's 111. Thank you, thank you, Carlos in Indianapolis. I was not going to acknowledge it today, but you have pointed it out. He was just waiting for it. 111 Eastern, 1111 Mountain. The Angels support you. Trust me, they're there. Even if you can't see them. On that team, we were bad. And I kind of go back to those days lovingly in my mind because I was such a young whippersnapper. I was 26 years old and not hardened by this perilous biz. And I could see it. Players had quit on themselves, on their careers. And I'm going to say this guy because I loved him. Curtis Mayfield was one. Number 89. The first Labor Day Classic I ever called, Curtis Mayfield returned 2 punts for a touchdown. But Curtis was playing for himself, which is fine. When you're on a bad team, you know you're not going to win. What are we playing for? We were 3-6 at Labor Day, lost the next 9 games. So he is an example of a great player on a bad team. You do eventually check out. And the sucky thing about that is the coaches and the GMs, well, the GM specifically, they see that, and it's like, there's no hope for this guy. We're not going to win with guys like this. We gotta go. He's got to go. So when Roy Shivers came in and Danny Barrett in 2000, they purged a lot of guys from a bad team that were still good players, but their pilot light had gone out. They were Megatrons. Bomber Boy writes in, he says, what year is it for McDavid being an Oiler? Well, I want to say 2012 was his first year. 2013. He's 29. I think it's his 11th year. Mark checks in from Melfort and says, Superfly, Curtis Mayfield. Boy, he had speed. Yes, he did. Returned 2 punts for a touchdown. Still a Rider record in the Labor Day Classic of 99. First one I ever called. But more than that, here's the one thing that maybe why they like us so much in Alabama and other U.S. places, because football is a really big deal here where I'm from, and they like the stories. I remember going into Humpty's restaurant the morning of, it might have been that same Labor Day Classic, I'm not sure, and Curtis Mayfield was there having a pan scrambler. Or maybe it was a year or two before I was the voice of the Riders. I'm not sure. I still lived here. But it was that whole thing where you go in there and it's, Curtis Mayfield. Loved that, Humpty's. I remember sitting between Roger Aldag and Bob Poldy, 2 Rough Riders greats, having breakfast there one day. I'm 6'3". On a good day, 220, 225. I felt like a small human being between Bob Poldy and Roger Aldag at that Humpty's. That's where all the riders went. And my friend Stu was the manager and the owner of it, and he'd get free tickets for free meals. Good times. 902-518-3033. We can, listen, Jim Lang is the author of many leather-bound books. and bestsellers. And Jim is Canada's foremost NFL expert, but he's coming in next to talk some NFL, but we can lob some hockey stuff at him. He would obviously be following McDavid's career very clearly. Then, where it's come up here today. Not totally sure why, but how long does Connor Bedard stay in Chicago? He follows McDavid because he's a hockey fan, but McDavid is also from Toronto, where Jim Lang hangs his hat. Yeah, I'll get to the rest of your questions later on in the program if they're not related to the NFL or our upcoming chat with Jim Lang, because that is right around the corner. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live on YouTube, found on all podcast platforms, and, of course, broadcasting now on AM 1700 Mission Radio. We'll be right back.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Thursday edition of the RP Show continues. By the way, from trucks to SUVs, Western Dodge has what you're looking for. Visit them in Moose Jaw or online at westerndodge.com. Well, we're very pleased to welcome Canada's foremost NFL expert. That's what I call you, Jim. Happy summer, my guy. Seems like you've had a good one.
And not bad, Rod. Happy summer. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. But when Jim Lang's on, we're going to talk NFL. You must be smiling like a butcher's dog, my friend, that the 4-down game is back.
It's interesting. I am happy. And of note, I think people should realize through the last few years, the NFL has been tweaking how they approach the regular season and the preseason. So this Thursday night is the beginning of the last week of the preseason. And some teams will have anywhere from 12 to 14 days off, maybe even more before the start of the regular season because they only have the 3 games. Now, it has a lot of advantages for teams who are a little banged up. I think of Terry McLaurin and the Washington Commanders, assuming they get him under contract. You'll have time to get healthy, have time to be on the field for week 1. Brian Schottenheimer talking to the media yesterday, saying he's confident Micah Parsons will be in the lineup for the Cowboys for week 1, all things considered, contractually and financially. The extra time is good. It's interesting how they're starting the season, Eagles-Cowboys, because the Cowboys are the subject of the Netflix documentary you talk about, very well done, and the drama with Micah Parsons. One of the quietest teams in the preseason in training camp are the ones with all the hardware, the silverware, and the champions, the Eagles, just going about their business. Everyone else are having press conferences and they're talking on Good Morning Football and all the podcasts. What are we going to do? And what about this? And the Eagles just shrug their shoulders and go, well, we're just going to play ball. And until they beat them, I mean, they are an absolute wagon once again.
Jim Barker is on this program every Friday. He has picked a Super Bowl rematch this year. Eagles-Chiefs. Have you thought about a Super Bowl matchup yet?
I'd be more inclined to go Eagles-Ravens. I really like the Ravens this year. Yeah, I'm expecting the Chiefs. There's got to eventually they're going to have to physically and mentally, emotionally let down a little bit. The Chargers, another year of Harbaugh and Herbert, that's going to be a good team. I really, really believe that Pete Carroll going to the Raiders they're going to be a better team. They could be a borderline wildcard team with Pete Carroll there. And there's going to be some tough teams. The big question marks is how good is Aaron Rodgers going to be with the Steelers? But the Ravens, I think they're still an elite team. Lamar Jackson, despite not winning awards, there's no one questioning what he did last year and what he's capable of. And he still got a great running game. So, but the Eagles, that's the gold standard. I know you were talking before about the Lions and the issues before with Megatron and everyone else and the suffering and the losing. And Dan Campbell and Jared Goff have built a great team. And they have turned a franchise around from a laughingstock to a team that, Barry Sanders and others say, I just can't take the losing anymore. A team where players want to play. They want to go to Detroit because they're so good. But are they good enough to beat the Eagles? We don't know. Health is going to play a big part of it, and a lot of other factors. But the Eagles, they're coming off that Super Bowl, a good offseason, quiet offseason, just ready to start the play. And for Dallas to play them on the road in week 1, if they don't have Micah Parsons, it's good luck stopping that Eagles offense.
I don't even know what the point spread is. I can't imagine it might be double digits, which, by the way, our NFL kickoff party is at Pump Jacks Cathedral Thursday, September the 4th. Watch for details on how you can join us. RP show personalities and staff will be there, Pump Jacks Cathedral, for NFL opening night. Listen, you mentioned the Netflix documentary on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I'm a Cowboys fan, as you know. Have you been watching it?
I have, and mainly because Jimmy Johnson, I don't believe gets enough credit as one of the great coaches in NFL history. He had a 3-year run there in the early 1990s where he put together arguably one of the best teams on both sides of the football the NFL has seen. And, of course, we had such a long run with Bill Belichick, and the way social media works now, everyone's talking about the Andy Reid because he won. But I'm glad they're doing this with Netflix to understand what Jimmy Johnson did with personnel, understanding the league, understanding the importance of the Herschel Walker trade, parlaying that into draft picks, how we built that team. And we forget simply how horrible they were. And I know Troy Aikman has talked about it, being 1-15, and he's sacked like every other time he drops back to pass. and a few years later, they're the class of the NFL. And Jimmy Johnson, I know because Jerry Jones likes to be in front of a camera every single day, but Jimmy Johnson's legacy as a great coach in the NFL, to me, is beyond reproach. What he did and his message and how he turned the Cowboys from where they were to what they became, it's incredible.
I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm already sick of this. I'm enjoying the show, but I knew all this, and I think watching this, I'm like, Jim, who would you pick out of Jerry Jones or Jimmy Johnson to go for dinner with? Because they seem like both a couple of guys you wouldn't really want to hang out with.
Jimmy Johnson, people don't realize he has a psychology degree. He actually got his degree playing football. And I've watched some podcasts of him where he comes to the University of Miami, his old team, the Miami Hurricanes, and he talks about the mental attitude to winning in football and business and in life. And I would just like to sit and eat and listen to him talk about the winning attitude in life. And Jimmy Johnson, that was his whole thing is, don't let your body control your mind. Have your mind control your body. To be strong late in the game, in the fourth quarter, in an overtime, to make those winning plays. Now, Jerry Jones, I just like to hear a story about being a wildcat oil driller in the 70s and 80s in Oklahoma and Texas, and what we're seeing with Landman, with Billy Bob Thornton. He lived it. And, that's where I would like it. But personally, I think I'd prefer Jimmy Johnson.
Well, Allie is watching in Texarkana. She says, Jimmy all day. Well, he's very popular in Key Largo, where he has his place, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. But Jerry Jones can charm your pants off now. So, anyways, enough about the Cowboys. I've got your Super Bowl pick here, Philadelphia, Baltimore. I'm going to go back to the preseason for a second. You're obviously examining how much the vets are playing. I find it fascinating how this is morphing every year. And Aikman said it on Monday Night Football. These teams want to play their vets now, which I'm in favor of. How about you?
To a point. I know the Bills already said Josh Allen's not going to play their third preseason game. The problem is it's the margin for victory in all pro sports now is so razor thin, Rod. If you're Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, you start running down the elite 6-7 quarterbacks in the league. Between the mini camp and the preseason and training camp and all the reps and the scrimmages and what live action you have, there's no need for them to play the third preseason game. Now, maybe there's some teams that have some decisions to make at quarterback, and they're wondering about backups and things of that nature and trying to make those last end of training camp roster decisions that the league mandates that you have to be down to so many players. But it's not worth the risk to play them too much that third preseason game, because it's such a long grind now with the extra regular season. And if you don't have a healthy quarterback come the postseason, there's no chance you can win. And that's part of the problem is by week 3 or week 4, it seems that every NFL show you watch, every NFL podcast, every NFL blog site, it's a laundry list of injuries of top players. So to protect the quarterback is paramount. I mean, I watched the Bengals preseason game the other day, and Zach Taylor and the Bengals still have issues on offensive line. Joe Burrow is going to get hurt at some point this season unless they figure his protection schemes out. He can't keep running around and be hit like that. Nobody can.
Who's the first coach to be fired, Jim?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. I don't think Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland, because I really think they made a smart move putting the safe pick a quarterback in Joe Flacco, the steadying voice. They've got good talent on both sides of the offensive and defensive line. But, I mean, the Jets are a mess. I mean, that's a big concern. I don't think it's going to be the first coach fired, but I really do wonder if the Steelers have a 6 or 7 win season and Aaron Rodgers doesn't work out like the Steelers think he will, and he's not healthy, and they miss the postseason, what happens to Mike Tomlinson in Pittsburgh? Has it run its course? Is it time for another coach, another voice in the Steelers locker room? And that's not an in-season thing because the Steelers would never do that. But at the end of the season, it will be fascinating to watch, I think, for a lot of people around the NFL, Rod, what happens with the Steelers And can Aaron Rodgers reclaim some of his magic from a few years ago, and how good can he be? Because we know about their defense, and they even loaded up their defense. So their defense is going to keep them in games every week. But can Aaron Rodgers keep that offense to a level they need to in a really tough division? A really tough division. And he's going to be running for his life against the Ravens defense and Myles Garrett and the Browns. That's 4 times he's got to face really tough defenses.
It feels unthinkable that we would be talking about Mike Tomlin on the hot seat, but he is in the hot seat indexes that I see in the National Football League. 2 other coaches in that division are, too, by the way, Zach Taylor and Kevin Stefanski.
I would think Zach Taylor more than Stefanski. Zach Taylor, especially after going to the Super Bowl not that long ago, I think a lot of Bengals fans, Bengals management wonder, like, okay, you got Joe Burrow, and he is an elite quarterback. What can you do? If they miss the playoffs, that could be a coaching change as well. Absolutely.
What else you looking forward to this NFL season?
I'm just looking forward to the games in general. I'm looking to see what bubble teams maybe get into wild card, especially Pete Carroll with the Raiders and what he can do with Geno Smith. I'm really interested because AFC West will be interesting because I would, Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. Another year with Harbaugh. I mean, he's such a good coach. And will the Dolphins put it together with McDaniel and Tua? And that's a team that it's kind of up in the air. And I think Mike Vrabel in New England, they're not a playoff team, but you can see that Mike Vrabel's putting a stamp on that program, that they're moving away from Bill Belichick, and it's become Mike Vrabel's team and how he deals with the media, how he deals with players and stuff like that. So I'm really kind of curious to see what Vrabel and the Patriots do. And, 6-7 wins? It's not so much the wins, but how they play and how they build towards the end of the season into next year.
By the way, I will put Mike McDaniel on that coach's hot seat index.
Yeah.
And in South Florida, I can tell you that the Dolphins fans are upset that they let Dan Campbell get away. I hear it regularly from people. He's a Dolphin. No, he's not. He's coaching in Detroit, but he was on the staff and he was an interim coach for a while, and they wish he was their coach. I'm not sure that's ever going to happen.
It's hard in any sport, Rod, to keep all your assistants and all your coordinators. It's a fact of life. NHL teams lose assistant coaches or coaches in their AHL team that become really good head coaches, and everyone's like, well, why didn't we keep them? And unfortunately, if you're an assistant coach, you're a coordinator, and you get offered a head coaching job, it's almost a gentleman's agreement in the league. You're not going to stop Rod Pedersen from leaving his offense coordinator to become a head coach in another team. So I understand the Dolphins' frustration looking at what the Lions are doing and the kind of coach that Dan Campbell's emerged to, and players seem to really flock to him, but you can't stop an assistant from taking a head coaching job.
Just one more before we switch to a couple of Canadian topics. They're already talking about who's going to tank for the number 1 pick. And we don't even know. Yeah, we don't even know that it'll be Arch Manning. Arch at Texas is right now the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman, but he's not committed to going into the draft. Like, who are the teams that you think will be in the running? And the prize might not even be there if you tank.
Well, the Colts already announced that Daniel Jones is their starting quarterback. A lot of people are intimating that the Colts are already trying to tank to get Arch Manning. That's a great question. And I wonder about them, and I wonder about Carolina. Because how many wins are Carolina going to get in the NFC South? Because Tampa's going to be good. New Orleans going to be better. Atlanta. So it's going to be very interesting because right now the Colts seem like, we're just going to have Daniel Jones and, they're not really – I don't know what they think with Richardson. I don't know if they're already soured on him or what the deal is with Indianapolis, but my guess is the Colts really are going to see if they can tank and get that number 1 pick.
Allie in Texarkana says it's an uneasy season for Steelers fans. She's in Texas, but she's a fan of the Iron Curtain. Scott in Vancouver says, part of me wonders if Aaron Rodgers is washed up, but he's apparently been good in camp. Good enough that he's not playing tonight.
Yeah, and it's a valid question because when he starts getting hit at full speed in NFL games, can his body hold up? He's had injuries over the last few years. He's not in his 20s. And yes, he may be fit and does all this stuff health-wise, but eventually a quarterback's body wears down, and Tomlin's got his work cut out for him. It's not the glory days of Pittsburgh where, we didn't win this year, we're going to win this year. There's a lot of people in Pittsburgh that have been quite unhappy, and there's a lot of unrest in Steelers Nation, how the team has played and performed over the last few years, and all of a sudden the spotlight's on him.
Hard to believe the Steelers were in this position. This is the best that they could do. But anyways, to the hockey, here's one for you. This is fun.
Yeah.
I should have prepped you for this, but who has the better season? Mitch Marner or the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Regular season or postseason?
Both.
Regular season, I'll go Leafs. Postseason, I could see the Golden Knights and Marner because he's got better protection around him. It's Marner needed a change of scenery, and I think both teams did. For the Leafs, they've got all the talent. They'll be in the playoffs. Can they have the goaltending to go far? To me, that was Florida, and the key is Bobrovsky. People forget he was undrafted. And Bobrovsky, again, another phenomenal postseason performance. And find me a team that doesn't have a goalie that plays well in the postseason that does well. You can't. So if Stolarz is the guy in Toronto and he can stay healthy in the postseason, maybe the Leafs can go deeper into the postseason. But that to me is I think the Leafs are good in all their positioning. It's consistent goaltending is going to be the difference for them.
It's kind of hard to believe that they wouldn't have a guy in Toronto as the goalie. It's very hard to believe.
Most Leaf fans across the world think the same thing, Rod. And I mean, there are 4 or 5 goalies in the league that you consider the guy, but none of them on the Leafs roster. And that's why for Craig Berube and the coaching staff, that's why they're not set during the regular season. Now, I think Treliving at the trade deadline will have to reevaluate what the Leafs goaltending is like, where the Leafs are at, and what they do. Can they pick up a goalie that they think can push them over the top? Because you were talking off the air before I joined you about Connor McDavid and his window. He's drafted in 2015. He's the 4th fastest player in the history of the NHL to have 1,000 points. He's, without question, considered a generational talent. He lives about 15 minutes away from me, trains with Gary Roberts in Aurora, does all the right things. But unfortunately, if the Stanley Cup is in a room with Connor McDavid, he's got to stand in the corner and not look at it because he's not won one. And then he had Sam Bennett yesterday, 20 minutes away from Connor McDavid, have his day with the cup and go to South Lake Hospital, Newmarket, and take it up to his cottage in Northern Ontario. And eventually that has to be grading on him. I mean, look what Ray Bourque did in Boston all those years. Eventually, he ended up in Colorado, and the big reason is he wanted to leave his legacy as a Stanley Cup champion. So when you look at Ray Bourque, it's Ray Bourque, Stanley Cup champion, played 20-some years, blah, blah, blah. And fair or not, that's how legacies are cemented in all pro sports. And for Connor McDavid, you talked about the frustration to go to the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row and lose it. How could you not think mentally, will I win one?
At least he's got a better shot there than most places, but we're completely fresh out of time. Jim, you are the best. Let's do it again soon if we can. Enjoy the rest of summer.
Team Rod. See you, boys.
Thank you, buddy. Jim Clubberlang, my longtime friend, Canada's foremost NFL expert. We'll be coming right back with a sports update and viewer takeover in a moment. 902-518-3033 is the Western Dodge text line. We're live on Game Plus TV, streaming live and Mission Radio.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. A plethora of great content coming your way. You know, back in the day, we used to call it programming. It's all the same stuff. It's great content today, just like branding. All it is your image. And we got to get one. Thanks for joining us. By the way, rep the show you love. Shop the Rod Pedersen Show store today at rodpedersen.com. Click on RP store. I don't know where to start with the comments from the viewers, man. I told you these will take us all the way up to the top of the hour. But the one, I talked about seeing Joe Montana at the Super Bowl Fan Fest. Or I heard he was there. The lineup was so big, couldn't get anywhere near him. And that was just 49ers fans, let alone NFL fans. That was in Las Vegas. And I said, I don't think even Gretzky would get that big of a lineup. But maybe. I don't know. In hockey, we don't do that. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes in, he says, I tried to get my Pete Rose Expos jersey signed when friends went to Vegas and said he had a booth. He wanted $300 US. I told him, no thanks. Was that dumb or am I just too cheap? Only you can answer that, Tony in Cochrane, Alberta, but I would say it's not dumb. But the way I spend money, I would listen. I had a chance. Same thing. It was $150 to get a picture with Pete Rose. That was in Planet Hollywood, Miracle Mile Shops, and no, don't like it that much. I would pay it. Well, wait a minute. I was going to say I'd pay it to meet George Strait and get a photo, but George didn't even charge. It was free. But that's George Strait for you. The poll question today is from our friends at Schneider's Meats. Would you do the 9x9x9 challenge? I guess they do it at the Blue Jays games. And I've got the note here. Where the heck is it? This is the record set at the Blue Jays game back on July 22nd. They set a record with 84,731 Schneider's hot dogs sold. They're going for a new record this Tuesday. And I guess they do a thing. A 9x9x9 challenge, they call it. 9 hot dogs, 9 beers in 9 innings. And that's our poll question today. Would you even attempt it? Well, it's a no from me, dog. Pardon the pun. Even Scruffy back in hour one said 25 years ago, yes, me too. I mean, I'm out at the 10 beers thing. I'm out. And to be honest, think about it now. Because as you know, I would hope you know, 10 years sober here. Would you drink 9 Diet Pepsis? Absolutely freaking not. But would you drink 9 beers? Yeah, that's batting practice. So Shy wrote in here earlier and said, ask Rod if he would do it. I bet he wouldn't. Don't bet me. That's the one thing about, or dare me. Scruffy's known me since the early 90s when he started working at CKCK Radio in Regina. And he knows, he's seen, we all, I would hope, change. Scruffy hasn't changed a lot. He didn't have to. I had to change a lot. And I have. Here's the thing. You dare me, you bet me, but specifically, I would have done it. Do you know why? Because I wanted to be liked. Now, I don't care whether you like me or not. And I think that's abundantly clear. Good morning, Bill Edwards, checking in from the Queen City. Sports update, if we have time to sneak it in, I'll rush. James Captain Morgan gets thrown into the fire tonight, making his first CFL start as the Montreal Alouettes entertain the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, kicking off Week 12 in the CFL. He's the 4th quarterback used by the Owls this year. The Blue Jays have the day off before opening a 3-game set in Miami Friday. Newly acquired righty Shane Bieber, a former Cy Young winner, is expected to make his Toronto debut. The CPKC Women's Open tees off today at Mississauga Golf and Country Club. Brooke Henderson leads the Canadian contingent in a field stacked with 6 of the world's top 10. And the PGA's Tour Championship tees off today at East Lake in Atlanta with 30 players chasing the FedEx Cup. World number 1 Scotty Scheffler headlines the finale with Rory McIlroy in the final pairing. Sports update brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. We've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off now. Check us out at seatgiant.ca. And here's one. Some offshore sports books are putting action on the Little League World Series, and that's not sitting well with the adults. U.S. team managers have used press conferences to blast the idea of people betting on games played by 12-year-olds. Little League International also put out a statement last week condemning gambling on youth sports. This is where we are. We're coming right back with overtime right after this here on Game Plus Television, Mission Radio.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. Welcome back, everybody. It is time for Overtime here on the RP Show. The final segment of the program for Overtime, Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Our longtime partners, we love them. We say it every day, but in case you missed it, right now, BOGO on limited time offer on their monthly and yearly memberships. $99 unlimited lane time for a month or $9.99 for the year. 2 for 1 right now at Overtime Hockey Lanes. This is the business season, everybody, for hockey. Now's the time to go work on your shot. Overtime Hockey Lanes, 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Thank you, Wayne in BC. He says, another fast 2 hours on the RP Show. Yeah, it does go by fast. I hope you've had as much fun as I have had. Great night of TV watching tonight, as far as I'm concerned. Blue Jays off. Winnipeg Blue Bombers at Montreal. Scruffy poo-pooed that. We didn't open the show the way I thought. I'm like, Mitch. He was co-hosting today with Moose at the Canada Summer Games. I'm like, are you fired up for the Bombers and Alouettes? Not really. It's not the sexiest matchup, but I think of the 4 games, they all should be decent, and that's because the Alouettes are down to their 4th-string quarterback. We got to tune in to see what happens. Anytime Cody Fajardo plays for plays at all, I'm excited to watch. That's Friday Night Football, Edmonton at Ottawa, and a Saturday doubleheader, BC at Toronto, Sask at Calgary. I'll be honest, I don't like the doubleheaders. I feel guilty, especially in a Canadian summer, to be sitting on the couch for 6 hours watching football. I can do 3. Ron in Calgary writes in, I like this on the 403 Western Dodge text line. He says, I saw a comment from Bob Irving saying Nathan Rourke is the best player in the CFL. What has he proved yet? Not even the best stats. Well, here's one thing that I've realized, and my guess is Knuckles Irving learned it far before I did because he's a lot smarter than me. Bob said that on this show, that Nathan Rourke of the BC Lions is the best player in the league. That was on Monday. And only 49 years working in the CFL, but what does Bob Irving know, is my point. Even Bill Belichick, hilarious. 6 Super Bowls, 300 wins, and people were questioning his every move at the end of it in New England. They never give you credit. So once you realize that, you don't worry about it. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta. Appreciate you, Tony. He writes in, he says, Joe Flacco will start and Shadir Sanders will also play for the Browns last preseason game on Saturday. It was a very enlightening chat with Jim Lang earlier. And thank you, Allie from Texarkana, who writes in, and she says, I love when Jim is on. As do I. We go back a real long ways, Jim and I. He's such a fantastic guy. But as he said, with the NFL teams, how they play their veterans, he said it's different for every team and what their needs are. And Cleveland obviously wants to get Joe Flacco some work. Yet tonight for the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers isn't playing. Cowboys haven't played their big guys for the most part. They're 0-2, and it's not going over well in Dallas, which I could sit here for 2 hours and do a recap every day of the Netflix series, America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys. I watched 2 episodes Tuesday. I watched 2 episodes last night. I'm going to try and find time to watch them tonight, maybe this afternoon. But with Jerry Jones, you got to watch it, everybody. You don't even have to be a Cowboys fan. I'm not sure if you will come out of it a Cowboys fan or not. Doesn't matter. But I said earlier in the show, if you could go to dinner with one guy, Jerry Jones or Jimmy Johnson, who would it be? 100% of you have said Jimmy Johnson, which Jimmy Johnson has retweeted my tweets. I've kept trying to run into him at his restaurant in Key Largo, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. The staff always says, come on Thursday morning. Jimmy's always here on the Thursday morning. But I'm never there on a Thursday. I'm always there on a weekend. But maybe when I get back in September, I'll drive down on a Thursday. Wouldn't that be big time? Doing the RP show live from Jimmy Johnson's in Key Largo with Jimmy. Yeah, you saw my mind just went racing. But at the start of the show, it says Jimmy Johnson is a flawed guy. We all are. We're humans, right? We all are. Some a little more flawed. To be honest, Jerry Jones in the series, and I go on about this because I'm a Cowboys fan. I've followed them since 1990. It's been my team, but Jerry says, I'm sensitive. So if Jerry knew that y'all didn't want to go for supper with him and would pick Jimmy, that would hurt his feelings. I've still trying to figure out how to navigate guys like that. Because the thing is with guys like Jerry Jones, I've probably worked with and for guys like Jimmy Johnson. I don't know that well, but Jerry Jones, I've worked for a lot of guys like that. And as long as you are following their script, doing what you're told, you'll have no problem. Life's good. But the second you question something, may heaven have mercy on your soul. Because that's when the clock starts ticking. Don't question them even when they're wrong. Okay? It doesn't end well. What's this from Ken in Mississauga? He says, when Taylor Field had extra seats for the Grey Cup years and years ago for the last games in the regular season, what was it like being there? Oh, it rocked, dude. It rocked. And that's, had the opportunity to go to Old Texas Stadium. I've been in the new place, AT&T. It's not the same. Here in Moose Jaw, the old Crush Can rink versus the new place, it's night and day. None of these places have the atmosphere of the old place. And Taylor Field, 2013 Grey Cup, 44,900 on hand. Doesn't seem much by U.S. standards, but it's huge by Canadian standards. It rocked. It was loud. We had decibel figures into the 100s there. And what game was I watching the other day? They had a decibel reader. It was an NFL game, and it was like in the 90s. So what was it like at Taylor Field with the extra seats? It was bedlam. They have not been able to recreate at the new place, but no new stadium's been able to recreate what they had in the old place, and I don't know why that is. I think we got to blame the football gods for that. But, man, has it been a hell of a nice program today. Thank you, producer Corey. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll do it all again tomorrow with a Football Friday. Y'all are going to meet Broken Toe Joe, our business manager. He's going to come on with us tomorrow. It's going to be fun talking football on a Football Friday. We'll see you then. Be good to yourself, everybody.
Now I'm the whore and the pimp. That's where the money is.
How about that?